Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. Many wildfires continue to burn out of control in our province. We have the latest from a government emergency official. Conservative MP Michael Chong and Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly got into a heated exchange discussing the potential of expelling Chinese diplomats. And a number of athletes will be honored tonight during the Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Government officials say there are currently 78 active wildfires burning in Alberta, with 19 listed as out of control. They say there were 44 new wildfires today alone. The fires have resulted in the evacuation of 13,000 Albertans in a number of regions in the central and northern parts of the province.
We're working with federal, provincial, and municipal partners to deliver emergency supports throughout this evolving and extremely fluid situation. In collaboration with local authorities, we're also leveraging resources from non-governmental organizations as required. Please be sure to take every precaution when keeping yourself and your family safe, including packing important documents, medication, and supplies to be away from home for at least 3 days.
Now, the regions which have seen evacuations include Lac St. Anne County, Beaver Lake Cree Nation, Rainbow Lake, Brazeau County, and the Little Red River Cree Nation. You know, we've been experiencing a lot of dry and hot conditions in many areas of the province recently. Jeanette Rocher is now with an early look at the forecast. Jeanette, as for southwestern Alberta, fortunately, some much-needed moisture is on the way, and just in time for the weekend?
Yeah, I even saw a few drops early this morning, and that was quickly replaced by the warm, dry day that we had. The rain, though, coming back this evening. We could see a 60% chance of showers developing this evening, along with that 20 to 40 wind. It should become light near midnight. Overnight low of 7 degrees. Into Saturday, that's when that rain's going to start up again. We could see up to 5 millimeters of it by Saturday morning, high of 13 degrees. I'll be back later in the show to tell you about the rest of that weekend and how the 7-day forecast is shaping up.
Looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Jeanette. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke with reporters at his party's national convention in Ottawa. Trudeau faced more questions about a 2021 report from the Canadian Security Intelligence Service regarding the alleged targeting of Conservative MP Michael Chong and his family in Hong Kong. Chong says Trudeau's national security advisor did see a CSIS report about China targeting MPs. Trudeau says CSIS did not share that information.
That it's absolutely unacceptable that any MP be worried about threats to themselves or their family, and that's something that needs to be taken incredibly seriously. Now, CSIS and our intelligence agencies have professionals that evaluate constantly threats coming into Canadians, threats from foreign actors, concerns about Canadian safety. That's what they do, and they do it hundreds of times a day, every day. They make determinations around whether a threat is credible, whether it reaches a certain threshold, whether it's a serious threat, and they act in consequence. What I have ensured because of this situation is that any time going forward there is a threat against a member of Parliament or his family, regardless of their evaluation of whether it is serious or not, or whether it is credible or not, that it has to make it to the highest level.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says China's ambassador to Canada has been summoned over concerns from security officials that a Chinese diplomat was involved in targeting Conservative MP Michael Chong and his family. Joly says the government is assessing how China might retaliate if Canada expels one of its diplomats. Tory MP Chong is simply frustrated with the government's apparent lack of response.
You have given accreditation to a diplomat here who is using his diplomatic immunity to target not just me and my family, but other members of Parliament. So why do you, Minister, continue to allow this diplomat to be accredited in this country on Canadian soil? That is the question. And you haven't answered the question.
Well, let me be able to answer the question. And of course, Michael, I understand your frustration and I understand your anger. So
we haven't expelled a single PRC diplomat.
Can I just
We are
finish?
one of the only democratic allies in the NATO alliance that has not expelled a single PRC diplomat. And Canadians are being targeted by the over 100
Mr.
diplomats
Chung,
accredited
will you
here.
allow the
Yes.
minister to
Okay, thank
respond?
you. So, first and foremost, what we're doing right now as a government is we're assessing the consequences that will be facing in case of diplomatic expulsion, because there will be consequences. I think it's important that Canadians know what we've learned from the Two Michael experience is that, of course, China and the PRC will take action. These interests, including economic interests, consular interests, and also diplomatic interests.
A delegation of Indigenous leaders from Canada met with King Charles III in London to discuss reconciliation and the need to build a strong relationship moving forward. The official coronation of King Charles takes place on Saturday as he is crowned as Great Britain's new monarch. Assembly of First Nations National Chief Roseanne Archibald says the meeting was a chance to evolve the relationship with the Crown.
First Nations have primarily a treaty relationship with this Crown that predates Confederation. And so we brought that up as one of the issues that is important to us, is that nation-to-nation relationship that we have had and continue to have. And it was a very positive meeting. It was also an opportunity for us to connect to the King on things that matter to him, things that also matter to us and that we can work together on.
Canadians joined royal fans from all over the world who are camping out and lining the route to Buckingham Palace just ahead of King Charles' coronation.
So I'm a part of the Monarchist League of Canada, and I'm a proud Canadian, but I'm also a proud monarchist. And King Charles is the King of Canada, and it was very important for me to be here because I think in my lifetime this is the only coronation that I will see, and so I wanted to be a part of it and make the trip to London. It's like a party, you know, for people that are historians and royalists and monarchists. Like, it's a really cool time, and there's a nice vibe. It's celebratory. It feels safe. People are friendly to Canadians, and it's just somewhere where I've always wanted to come.
Coronation Day is going to be a bit of a zoo around here. I mean, they're expecting even bigger crowds than some of the events that we've come here in previous years for. So we're going to come to the Mall, we're going to come to the park, we're going to find a really good viewing spot, just take in the festivities. It's just wonderful to be here with so many other people who are excited, enthusiastic, and just looking to take in the atmosphere and the celebrations.
Closer to home, the two main parties battling it out in the Alberta provincial election have been reaching out to undecided voters. UCP leader Danielle Smith says her party is all about creating jobs, while NDP leader Rachel Notley is asking Conservatives to vote for her as a trusted leader.
We have spent the last couple of days talking about our plans to end the chaos in healthcare, make life more affordable for families, and create good-paying jobs for decades to come. We've been out in communities and on doorsteps talking to Albertans about this election and how important it is for Alberta's future. Everywhere I go, I'm hearing, though, from Conservatives, former Conservatives and current Conservatives who are struggling, who can't quite bring themselves to vote for Danielle Smith this time. And so I'm here today to talk to you folks, to Albertans who feel the UCP has abandoned the values of Conservatives, who are looking at Danielle Smith and thinking that she doesn't represent you or your priorities.
I would say that whether you are a blue-collar worker or whether you are a frontline nurse or other health professional, these are the kind of things that are going to make a real difference in people's lives. These are the kind of reasons why people will want to come to Alberta. And these are the reasons why we want to continue supporting those who want to move here. Our Alberta is Calling campaign is working. And it's because people want to be here to enjoy the lowest tax jurisdiction in the country. So you couple this with our low tax guarantee, couple this as well with the fact that we're bringing in a new 8% income tax rate, and add on top of that these additional incentives. I would think that any union member who had been considering voting for the NDP should think twice.
4 people have been charged in connection with a drug bust here in our city. Lethbridge police seized more than $40,000 worth of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine. LPS say the 3 men and 1 woman were arrested following a vehicle drug search on May the 3rd. 27-year-old Dylan Sokol, 30-year-old Robert Ambrose, and 37-year-old Tyler Sapola, all of Lethbridge, face various drug-related charges. 40-year-old Christina Zinger also faces various charges, including possession of a controlled substance for the purpose of trafficking. Sokol, Zinger, Ambrose, and Sapola face court dates later this month in June and as well in August. The father accused in the sexual assault of his infant daughter had his case back in Lethbridge Provincial Court earlier today. Defense lawyer Darcy Schertz for the father, who cannot be identified under a publication ban, says he has received a substantial disclosure that still needs to be reviewed before moving forward with the case. The father remains in custody and faces various charges, including sexual and aggravated assault. The matters for both the father and the mother accused will return to court next Friday. Many in our community gathered at Galt Gardens on Friday afternoon to observe Red Dress Day. It's an initiative aimed at honoring the memories of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls across Canada. The fireside event, which featured drumming and dancing, gave attendees an opportunity to connect and share memories of people they know who have not returned home.
This is a national recognized day, and it's important when we think of the day. It's not a celebration, but it's an opportunity to create awareness and bring the community together in a positive way to acknowledge that this still is an issue.
Selena Medicine Shield, an advocate, says participating in these types of events are very important for her as she honors her grandmother.
My grandmother, Gloria Blackplume, she was murdered in 1999 and she never got justice. I actually never got to meet her, so I go to all these places and these events, especially children's schools, to make sure that they're aware and just to share my story and what I've been through in my family.
In 2015, the federal government pledged over $53 million to establish a national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. The final report, which was released in 2019, proclaimed that it is a national tragedy of epic proportions. Youth today need our love and support. Now, that's according to Tracy Muchler, who's the Executive Director of McMahon Youth Services for the South Region. Muchler says there are many factors which impact the mental health of young people.
Oftentimes, there's so many complex and intertwining factors. And so oftentimes the youth that we're serving are very complex. And so one thing, though, that's prevalent right now in society, and especially with our youth right now, is mental health needs, and just really looking at the whole person's well-being. And so it might be mental health, it could be addiction, it could be housing, it could be skill building, anything to kind of support them in their transition into adulthood and independence.
Make sure you catch the full interview with Tracy Muchler of McMahon Youth Services in Lethbridge and BCN's Jeanette Rocher coming up later in our program. After fighting to get workers out of the Melcor Centre in Lethbridge, the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees is condemning Alberta Health Services' decision to move workers back into the building. There have been a number of concerns raised by the union regarding mold from various previous flooding, also falling ceiling tiles and broken elevators. Union officials say staff who work with mental health and addictions were informed by AHS on April 24th that they were to vacate the Lethbridge Provincial Building by next spring and move to the Melcor Centre as part of a consolidation plan. Darren Graham, AUPE Vice President, says he's not happy that they were not consulted.
We've had multiple floods at the Melcor Centre, and last year at this time I was talking to you guys about ceiling tiles falling down after one of those floods that has happened. And we haven't been consulted at all with any of the remediation that AHS says they have received. Actually, this whole thing comes as a surprise to us. The government of Alberta committed to remove employees and not renew their lease. But I guess their solution is to kick people out of the provincial building, and AHS has decided to switch people around and move those individuals into Melcor. And we're really concerned because even we haven't had any consultation on this at all. And we're going to have, I think, 90 employees that are going to be moving into that place. So we're very, very concerned about making sure everything was done right and it wasn't just a coat of paint and there we go, it's good enough.
Now, Bridge City News reached out to Alberta Health Services to comment on the concerns of the AUPE. And when it came to the mold issue, in a statement, AHS had this to say. A licensed remediation firm was hired in June of last year. Samples were taken at 54 locations throughout AHS leased spaces, and no spore counts exceeded acceptable range. There were just 2 locations that produced mold, one inside of a mechanical room and one in a small corner area. Remediation was undertaken in both areas. Final and additional testing of the remediated lease space was completed and deemed a safe place to work. The Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony is taking place tonight at 6:50 p.m. Now, a number of local athletes from southwestern Alberta will be celebrated. Paul King-Smith, board chair with the Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame, says there are 6 inductees this year.
We have Ashley Patzer, who was an Olympic medalist in rugby, born and raised in Lethbridge, and went on to represent Canada on the national stage. Lanny Tron is our other athlete inductee. He made his name in track and field, competed at Harvard. So he, from his Lethbridge roots, went on and did some really great things. In the builders category, we have Brian Donaldson, who was really instrumental in building the sport of wrestling in Lethbridge. And so it's great that we can honor him as well. The other builder inductee that we have is Mitch Ball, who was an umpire in Lethbridge. He passed away too young, but he really made an impact during his life. So it's great to get him into the hall. Also on the baseball note, we do have the 1979 Lethbridge Senior Little League team who won a national championship. Went all the way to the Senior Little League World Series, so deserving there. And our 6th and final, but definitely not least inductee is Rufus Goodstriker, who has a fascinating story as a rodeo competitor in horse racing and in boxing, and coming from Kainai and the Blood Tribes. So a really impressive group of inductees this year.
Congratulations to all the inductees. By the way, King-Smith says the Kinsman Sportsperson of the Year will also be honored tonight. They are Ridley Gregg, who played for the World Junior Hockey Team, and Janae Shomachuk, who's a weight thrower at the University of Lethbridge. So people see boxing as a contact sport full of violence. Now, Rick Duff is the owner of the Lethbridge Boxing Club and a 5-time Canadian boxing champion and former Olympian. He says boxing is a little bit different. He says many of his clients use boxing as a means to help aid physical and mental ailments. He put the gloves on our very own Jeanette Rocher to show her some unique moves.
I've made that commitment to help people that have injuries. I do have people that come in that the anxiety to depression to injuries, and it is so good for people. Parkinson's, I've done a couple of Parkinson's people, so I think I'm going to get my complete course and bring Parkinson's back into the gym.
Rick Duff will explain how boxing can be used in self-defense. Make sure you watch that full on-location interview coming up after business news. Many in our agricultural communities across southern Alberta have been praying for rain. Well, those prayers should be answered this weekend. A complete look at the weather picture is on deck. Well, we've experienced a number of hot and dry days across much of the province, which has contributed to a number of wildfires. Fortunately, some rain may be on the way, at least for our region. Jeanette Rocher is in now with all of the weather details. Jeanette, the moisture is not only needed to prevent wildfires here, but to be a real blessing for our farmers.
Oh, it sure is, Helen. They should be very happy with our weekend forecast, as we are expected to see 60% chance of showers beginning this evening. More showers on the way for Saturday. They could see up to 5 millimeters. And a high of 13 puts us back in that average seasonal range for this time of year. 15 for the high on Sunday with a mix of sun and cloud, up to 17 on Monday, all the way back up to 20 degrees on Tuesday with plenty of sunshine. Could see a slight chance of showers, though, Tuesday evening. And then as we get into Wednesday, that temperature creeping back up to 21 and all the way up to 23 for next Thursday to round out that 7-day forecast. And average high for this time of year, 17, average low, 3 degrees. We're going to be more in that range early next week. 30 degrees for a high. That was our record high on this day back in 1992, and the record low was set back in 1967. It was -6 degrees. 6:02, that's when the sun rose this morning. Sunset this evening at 8:55, almost 9 p.m. So we're looking at 14 hours and 53 minutes of daylight, so close to that 15-hour mark. Okay, on the west coast tomorrow, going to be a bit of a wet one, looking at 30% chance of showers expected in the morning in Victoria tomorrow, along with 40 km winds near the Juan de Fuca Strait, high of 14 14 degrees, 13 for a high in Vancouver. Also looking at 60% chance of showers, 19 for a high in Edmonton with plenty of sunny skies. Looking at 60% chance of showers, though, in Calgary with a high of only 12 degrees. So definitely a cooler weekend all across Alberta. And, you know, with those wildfires burning out of control, I would say it is very a welcome reprieve for sure. 19 degrees is the expected high tomorrow in Saskatoon. Plenty of sunshine there. 18 for a high in Regina, and same thing for Winnipeg with clear skies there, up to only 20k wind. So not too bad at all in the prairies. As we look to central Canada, 16 for a high in Toronto, high of 20 degrees in Ottawa, and a high of 12 degrees in Montreal. So beautiful clear skies across that whole entire region. Toronto, by the way, should see more about 12 degrees near Lake Ontario. 19 for a high in Fredericton, high of 14 in Halifax, 7 degrees for a high in Charlottetown, looking at clear skies across most of the Maritimes except St. John's. St. John's, what's happening to you over here? We're looking at a 40% chance of flurries in the morning, changing to a chance of showers mixed with flurries. Also could see a risk of some freezing drizzle there. High of only 4 degrees. So there you have it. That is your forecast.
The Canadian economy added 41,000 jobs last month, with all of the gains coming in the form of part-time work. Stats Canada says the job gains were led by the retail and wholesale industries. The agency reports the unemployment rate held steady at 5% for the 5th consecutive month. That is just above the all-time low of 4.9% reached last summer. Calgary-based Enbridge reported a first quarter profit of $1.7 billion. That is down, however, from the $1.9 billion from a year ago, as the company was hit by a realized loss because of the termination of foreign exchange hedges. The pipeline company says the profit amounted to 86 cents per share for the quarter ending on March 31st. That is down from 95 cents per share in the same quarter from a year earlier. The results follow an announcement by Enbridge that it solidified a tolling deal with shippers for its mainline pipeline system. Ford is recalling more than 230,000 vehicles because airbag inflators may have been installed incorrectly. The recall affects certain 2004 through 2006 Ranger trucks. The vehicles had received replacement front passenger airbag inflators under a previous recall. The U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says an incorrectly installed inflator may not properly inflate the passenger airbag, which increases the risk of an injury during a crash. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was up 303 points on the day to finish at 20,542. The Dow was up 546 points to 33,674. The S&P 500 was up 75 on the day to 4136, and the Nasdaq was up 269 points to 12,235. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up 278 to 71.34 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 2 cents to 2.12 US. Gold was down $33.49 on the day to $2,016.79 US an ounce, and silver was down 38 cents to $25.67 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $11.10 per bushel, barley's at $8.93, canola's at $16.44, and corn is at $10.14 per bushel. Live cattle were up 35 cents to $161.93. That's for the June contract. Feeder cattle were down $1.13 to $202.53, and lean hogs were down $1.55 to $75.53. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours to 74.77 US. Recapping one of our top stories, government officials say there are currently 78 active wildfires burning in Alberta, with 19 listed as out of control. They say there were 44 new wildfires today alone. The fires have resulted in the evacuation of 13,000 Albertans in a number of regions in the central and northern parts of the province. The areas affected include Lac St. Anne County, Beaver Lake Cree Nation, Rainbow Lake, Brazeau County, and the Little Red River Cree Nation. You know, boxing can be used as a way of getting into shape, but it can also be used in self-defense. Coming up, BCN's Jeanette Rocher heads on location to the Lethbridge Boxing Club, straps on her pink boxing gloves, and gets a very special boxing lesson. You won't want to miss it. Listen, if you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. We'd love to hear from you.
There are many troubled youth in southern Alberta and also many wonderful families who are willing to take these kids in, but sometimes they need a little bit of help or support in making that big transition. And that's where McMahon Youth Services comes in. So to talk more about the impact that McMahon Youth Services has on youth and families here in Alberta is Tracy Muchler. She's the Executive Director of McMahon Youth Services for the South region. She joins us from Medicine Hat. Tracy, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Okay, so maybe tell us a little bit about how McMahon Youth Services got its start and what it does.
Yeah, so McMahon is a nonprofit organization. We're actually a provincial organization, and we're one region of that provincial organization. So we cover all of southern Alberta, and we serve individuals with diverse and often complex needs. So we do things such as skill building and support groups, recovery and addiction supports, supervised visitation, family mediation, housing, shelter, therapeutic foster caregiving that we might talk a little bit about, and lots of community connections. We also operate actually 2 drug treatment courts, one in Lethbridge and one in Medicine Hat.
Okay, so it's all about youth mainly.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
what are some of the main needs of the young people when they first encounter McMahon Youth Services?
Yeah, oftentimes there's so many complex and intertwining factors. And so oftentimes the youth that we're serving are very complex. And so one thing though that's prevalent right now in society, and especially with our youth right now, is mental health needs, and just really looking at the whole person's well-being. And so it might be mental health, it could be addiction, it could be housing, it could be skill building, anything to kind of support them in their transition into adulthood and independence.
Okay, so are you there to also sort of teach some skills and whatnot? And
Yeah, so we do have a couple of programs actually. We're part of the family resource networks, and a few of those programs have some skill building as well. And so it could be maybe that individuals or youth have never had the opportunity to learn cooking skills or housekeeping skills or how to write a resume or any of those things. And so we'll either do that with them or connect them as a service brokerage to other services in the communities to help them achieve those goals.
Okay, so what does your center look like? Do you have a place for them to stay as well?
So that totally depends on the location. In Lethbridge specifically, we actually do have a youth drop-in center. And so youth can absolutely come in, and there's a staff member there just to engage in whatever their needs might be that day. And so sometimes that need is just a safe, warm place. And sometimes it is like, hey, I want to learn how to do this, or I have a goal to get this job. And so, yeah, it's really unique to what the individual needs.
That is so cool. And McMahon Youth Services has grown a lot over the years, hasn't it? So to what credit would you owe that the growth of the organization
Oh my
to?
gosh, our staff they're absolutely amazing, and just the support from obviously the community and of course the government of Alberta. They are who we would primarily get most of our funding from, and so we always thank them for those opportunities to provide these services to community. But yeah, no, the staff are just amazing and are really person-centered and there for the right reasons, and I think that translates just into really high quality service and outcomes.
That's incredible. Okay, so what about the youth that are involved? So you must have some great success stories. So how have you seen the programs that change the lives of Alberta youth?
Yeah, it's so cool. And I mean, I actually don't come from the sector, but that's what keeps me here is seeing those successes. And sometimes it's honestly the tiniest little things that we may take for granted. And so it could be just, recently we've had one youth partake in extracurricular activities. And that was something at, the age of 16, they had never had the opportunity to do. And so then just to see the benefits from that, whether it's friendships and social connections built, just the skills that you get from being in those peer groups, right? And so sometimes it's things as small as that to, sometimes we see the huge successes where you have a youth with complex needs and may have had some historical trauma that you really feel like you're in a hopeless situation, to all of a sudden, they're 30 years old and applied. Sometimes we even have them coming back to give back to the community at McMahon or other employees or other employers because they really want to create those opportunities for others that they've had created for them.
That's really incredible. I love that. Now, how does it work exactly? How do these youth come across McMahon?
Yeah, so it kind of all depends on the program or service accessing. So we have some services that are open referral, and so anyone from the community can come. For example, the Youth Drop-In in Lethbridge or in Medicine Hat, we have what's called the Youth Hub. And so those are just things that, you might get access to through school or through a friend or however the means. There's other programs as well, though, that do require a referral. And lots of times those referrals may come from a housing body or children's services if the families had involvement with children's services. And so it really just depends. But of course, our open referral programs are available for self-referrals or for families and natural supports to connect with us.
Okay. And you're there for the fostering family as well, obviously, right?
We are, yeah. We're super excited. Over the last number of months, we've had the opportunity to work with what's called therapeutic foster caregiving. And so it's an addition to the traditional foster care continuum and also an alternative to group home care. And so it's a therapeutic family-based short-term out-of-home placement program that supports children with complex trauma care needs. And so we really promote an inclusive approach. And I guess what's different to traditional foster care is that the caregivers are given extra training and access to family specialists that can really help promote safety in the home and provide those wraparound supports to the youth. So it's a really exciting alternative that we're so pleased to be a part of. And would, I guess, just put in a little bit of a plug is that we're always looking for therapeutic foster caregivers. And so if you are interested in helping children in the program, please reach out, check our website or call any of our McMahon offices.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful that you're there to help support them. And is it in the form of like a group setting, or is it one-on-one counseling, or is it almost like a help phone? Like, help, I need help with this situation. Almost
Kind
like
of all of the
emergency.
above
Really?
is
Okay.
available to the homes. Yeah, we really do want to create that community of caregivers as well to be supporting each other. But you do also then have a lot of one-on-one access to that family specialist, whether it be in the home or out in the community or by phone or all the different ways. We just really want to wrap around those families so that they can be successful.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, times have changed a lot since the start of McMahon back in 1975. So, Tracy, are the issues impacting youth similar today as they were in the past, or have the needs become greater than in the past?
Yeah, we have this conversation all the time, and I'm not sure that I would say, yes, there is a great need, of course. I hate to say a little bit that it's greater. It absolutely is great, but I like to also say that it's different. When we look at, practices, for example, with children's services, it's a very different practice approach than it was even 5, 10 years ago. Things are continually evolving. And so, what I would say though is oftentimes in those types of referral programs, the needs tend to be sometimes maybe more complex than we've seen in the past. One thing that absolutely, and COVID's had another huge impact on that, is the mental health needs of, our children, our youth, and just our communities in general has been huge. And so the conversations around that, I'm happy to see some of that stigma going away and just the awareness that there is. So in that respect, it does feel a little bit different and heavier.
Sure. It's rampant too, isn't it, these days? It's just
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
No.
So it's great to hear more conversation around it. And so it's hard to tell, is it that more people are comfortable talking about it and the need has always been there versus is it a new need? But
Yeah.
we do know with children and youth that the mental health needs are significant right now, and that's the future of our communities. So how do we invest in that?
Yeah, I know we've talked to a lot of psychologists over the past little while during the pandemic, and where obviously the use of technology is up and internet, people becoming reliant on it, especially with the online school and doing everything from home during that time frame. So do you find that this has had a factor on your youth? Has it helped or has it hindered them in any way?
It is for sure. And honestly, probably both. As with technology, there's so many benefits to it. But I mean, has it created a new environment than when I was a youth? Absolutely. We didn't have social media and the extra challenges and pressures that that puts on youth. And so I think it's probably safe to say that, yeah, it has added a level of complexity and pressure in society that ultimately affects our kiddos.
Yeah. Another thing that obviously makes headlines a lot too is the kids caught in human trafficking and sex work. So do you assist with youth caught in that type of situation as well, or even the drug trade for that matter?
Yeah, so we actually do right now. Our contract, we call it PSECA. And so it's actually focused on the southeast quarter of the province. And so they're doing lots of one-on-one work with individuals, as well as also working on awareness of those things. Because one thing is, it's often you don't think about it. It's kind of that hidden thing, and so lots of people don't even think that it's happening in our communities. And so the program actually does work around that as well. And so it's quite focused on, especially those potentials for online harms. And so really enhancing awareness around those risks of exploitation. We try and do education on, grooming, pressured sexual activity, online resources, because that's a huge piece right now, and just really trying to how do we embrace technology and its benefits, but also keep our kids and youth and adults safe by decreasing those risk behaviors.
Oh, definitely. You mentioned the need for foster parents right now. So, what is the process for fostering a child or a youth?
Yeah, so what you would do actually, it's quite an intensive
I
process.
can
And so
imagine.
I would recommend heading to our therapeutic foster care website. And we have a family specialist again that will address all the questions. And so we have community information sessions so you can see initially if it's a fit for you. And then starts going down a pretty intensive process if you actually want to pursue having a foster child in your home. And so it's exciting, but it is a lot of work because we also want to make sure that it's a great fit for the youth and for the families and everyone involved, and that we have that safe environment for them.
Definitely. Can you talk about the impact that families can make on a child who needs a foster home?
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. So even early in these days where we have only a few, the impacts have been incredible. It can be increased school attendance. Again, it can be those connections and extracurricular activities. It can be emotional regulation results on that, where maybe they haven't had those skills to help regulate themselves before. And so honestly, the opportunities and impacts are endless.
Oh, definitely. And I would imagine that you've also seen an impact on the community by the work of McMahon Youth Services and the work of these foster families with these kids coming out of this.
It is. It's really cool. And some of the neatest things that we've seen too is that um, maybe it's family members or supports that these kiddos actually have never had the opportunity to connect with are coming back into their lives and create those opportunities for that permanency in them. And so, yeah, it really is profound.
Fantastic. Do you have any specific stories that you can think of or share?
I guess honestly, one is that comes to mind is specifically just around school attendance. So, we've had a youth that, due to some historics, has not been able to attend school regularly. And, within a month or two, having those supports wrapped around them and the family have just given this sense of optimism and control in their lives, because we also really want to include them in the decision making. And so by empowering them and seeing them gain the confidence to say, no, this is what I need to succeed, and then how that comes out in little bits, like it is school attendance, gaining employment, joining activities, has been amazing.
That's fantastic. It looks like we're out of time, but Tracy, thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Tracy Mutchler is the Executive Director of McMahon Youth Services for the South Region. I'm here at Lethbridge Boxing Club, standing next to a 5-time Canadian boxing champion and an Olympian from back in 1984. This is Rick Duff. You are the owner of the Lethbridge Boxing Club, and thanks so much for having us come down to your ring today.
Well, thanks for coming in to show off our club here.
Oh, definitely. Okay, because I definitely want you to show me some of your moves. But let's talk a little bit about the club first of all. It's the oldest club in Lethbridge, right?
Yes, and we're one of the oldest ones in probably Alberta too. We opened up in 1937. Opened up at near the airport there in one of the hangars, and then 1940 ended up moving to the Civic Center, where we stayed till 2010. And then of course, I made a couple moves into our final spot here, and enjoying our spot. It's only ours, and we can come anytime we want to train.
Okay, so you've had it for 13 years, but who started it? And is this where you learned to train for all of those championships?
Out of this gym, the smaller gym at the Civic Center, I won all my Canadian championships, and I did go to the '84 Olympics out of the Civic Center. So it was a small little gym with, maybe 2 heavy bags and in-floor posts with ropes around it, and maybe 1 or 2 mirrors and a couple speed balls, and that was about it.
So a lot of us hear the word boxing, and it's a little bit intimidating. We think of the big tough guys and stuff, but you actually train a lot of women and even some kids. So maybe tell me a little bit about that. Why would somebody want to get their kids into boxing, or why would a woman want to do it?
Well, it is, you want to teach them about the gym, right? Gym environment, and they work on them, right? Mm-hmm. So we got kids from 4 to years old and up. We got a little sluggers type program, mm-hmm. where little people come in, and we got a really good coach to assist me. Jay, he's doing really good with them, mm-hmm. and we do fun workout games and tactical boxing and tactical kickboxing a little bit for the little guys. So mm-hmm. so it's a lot of fun. Then the older kids come in and do the actual tactical boxing, non-competitive and competitive boxing. So, so the competitive people actually get in the ring. Non-competitive, very, very seldom get in the ring. It's a safe zone. Not everybody has to get in the ring to be in our gym. We're here for fitness and mental, physical rehabilitation, because we've been going through a big, hard stuff through COVID and what's going on in our world right now. It's doesn't sound good. So
no, absolutely, and what better way to get it out than physical fitness, right? And like you said, redirecting the energy.
Exactly, and of course, we got rules that you're in the gym, you learn the sweet science of boxing, and you are responsible for that. And even the little guys, 4 to 5 years old, they got to be responsible for it, and they can't go out and use it on others. They use it for self-defense and building confidence, and belonging to a social group of other boxers and people that are similar ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what about girls and women?
Okay,
Yeah.
we do have a girls program. It's I call it Girls Power.
I like it.
And we're going to start it up again because we've had low activity lately. So we want to get that program back up and running. And it's a real safe zone for girls just to come in. It's like a drop-in fee to come in, and they get all the anger out of their breadbasket, and they learn some skills and get, they refunnel some of that energy. So.
Okay. What about somebody who thinks maybe it's a little too dangerous?
Well,
safety first, right?
Safety. We do everything within safety. Even the competitors. There's rules on my board right there. There's a notice that they have to, if they have headaches before or after, or during, they got. It's a boxer's responsibility to let the coach know.
I have a question. So are they mostly just practicing on punching bags, or are they actually hitting each other? Or does that come later?
Oh, sparring? Yeah, we're hitting each other. Yeah. We try. Our policy is we try to do 100% speed and maybe 20% power. So so you lay the power off to get the technique and hitting done. So we do get a occasional nosebleed, or we don't really get a black eye or anything like that, but it could happen, right?
Okay, so how do you teach somebody to hit but not injure?
Oh, well, they got to have some control. That comes with experience working outside the ring, working with coaches and coaches teaching them, hand position and body position and footwork and hitting the bag, and they learn to. You learn with hitting. You learn to have a little bit of control with that.
Okay, well, it's probably a very good lesson on how to manage your emotions, right, and manage your anger.
Yes. Boxing, it takes a certain person to be a competitor, because you got to learn to take a disappointment and be able to get back up and keep going, right? So
yeah, good life lessons, I guess.
So, well, it's just like out in the street, you lose your job and you're down in the dumps, you're on your butt, you just need to be able to get back up and keep going, right? And try and find a job. It's kind of the same thing. I have a couple competitors that refuse to quit. They're tough. I got a couple of them that have 8 losses in a row, but they're learning and they're having fun. They just have to get that one win.
Yeah. At what age do you have to stop competing?
Well,
Or is it more about your body?
We do have a non-competitive group that we're really busy with. We got lots of young ladies in it. We got lots of kids in it. We got lots of older people in it, and they're here to build their fitness. So.
Sure. Professionally, like for you, you were competing. At what age does somebody have to stop doing that?
Well, if I had it my way, I'd still be going, Right. Sorry, I shouldn't be saying that in front of anyone. My wife doesn't need to hear that. But we have a master's group over 45 or 35 years old that get into the ring and participate, and it gets very, very competitive as well. So I've seen some shows that they have in the States that some of them were 75 years old.
Okay.
So
yeah. So
and
it's
they're
really
competing.
about the individual then.
Yeah.
And their fitness level.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And just get in, love to fight. Eh?
Right. Okay.
But have it controlled, right?
That's amazing. So have you ever had any real serious injuries?
I hurt my hand.
Okay.
I shattered my hand back in the Olympics. I hurt my hand really bad. So that kind of that kind of put a stop to my career quite a bit. So
Maybe you want to show me a couple of moves, something that you would show maybe women or girls that are coming in just to kind of get their fitness level up and build their confidence a little, and also like how to throw a punch and without hurting somebody or without getting hurt, I guess.
I'm a southpaw, so I'm
So am
left-handed.
I.
I'm southpaw, left-hander, so yeah, so.
Cool, we have that in common. Okay, let's do it. Oh, here he comes. And,
Oh, got your color.
He's got the pink gloves for me because I'm a girly girl. So.
Very first thing is we're going to give you a stance, so then when you get up, it won't be so intimidating when you get up to the boxer, okay? So we're going to stand with our feet shoulder width apart. You're lefty, you're like me. We're going to step with our right foot first. All right? So we're gonna be in this position. Our left hand's gonna be up on our chin, right there, and then our right hand's gonna be out in front.
Okay.
So you want to keep your hands in front of you, your hands,
To protect.
head behind your hands, so you're protected.
Right, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you get this jab going, so you don't throw your jab like this, hurt your elbow. You keep your elbows down when you throw the jab, and you bring it over in this position.
Right.
So that's the rotation of that jab. Put your hip back again, there, right there. So that's going to come down here. We push off that back foot, and it's going to come push, and then the hip. Turn the hip. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Yes.
I'm hitting you. I'm hitting
the
you.
coach's chin. Now let's do 2 jabs and 1 left hand. Jab.
Jab.
Left. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Jab. Jab. Left.
Okay.
Jab. Jab. Left. Jab. Jab. Okay. Now the big part is getting your feet underneath you, so then you can hit the target, right? So you're going to take a little step with both feet, and then you're going to do a right jab, left hand. Okay? Come towards me. Just take a step. Jab, left hand.
Okay.
Step again. Again. Okay, now step back this time. With your back foot first, step back.
Okay.
Same distance, and then do a right jab, left hand.
Okay, right jab.
Right jab, left hand. Step back with your back foot first. 1 more step.
Okay.
Yeah, back foot first, front foot, follow, there. Right jab, left hand. You got to keep that one on your chin or you're getting punched.
Uh-oh.
Again.
This is so complicated. There's so many things to think about.
Lots to think about. All right, so this is your dummy. You get to hit. Okay, you're going to name your dummy?
I'll name him, I don't know, Dumbo.
Dumbo, all right. So you're going to just bend, have your knees bent, and you're going to step in a little bit, both feet, and then jab. Then step back, and then step back in, jab.
Okay. Right where you were, or does it matter?
You can do it right where I was. Here, let me turn this guy for you.
Or I can move.
Yeah.
That's okay.
All right, step in and jab.
Step in, jab.
Yeah, and then step back. Keep your hands up high, chin.
Okay.
The left hand's on your chin.
All right.
There you go.
So many things to think about.
Yeah. Okay, as you step, plant, then back.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Ah.
Now let's see a big left hand only. Step in and then left hand.
Okay.
Oh!
Right in his neck. Sorry, Dumbo. I'm sorry. He does not look happy.
That's it. Another big left hand. Oh yeah, don't throw it from underneath. Throw it over top, like from your chin over top. Yeah.
Okay.
If you throw it like that, then you'll get hit in the chin.
Okay.
That's it. Turn the hand over. That's it. Beautiful.
Oh, I can feel it.
Now, just one more little thing to help you to have balance is don't have your chin up here. Bring it down a little bit, and it'll help you with balance, right? Because you want balance is very, very important when you hit.
Yeah, I would say so. They can knock you on your butt otherwise, right?
Yeah. All right, give it a try. Keep your chin down. Right there. Look through your eyebrows a little bit. There you go. Yeah, she's smiling. There's no
so
fighter.
many things
I
to
want to
think
see your
about.
fighter face. Come on. There you go. That's it. Now 2 jabs to the left.
I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Make sure your hand's above.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, your left hand is over top. You're going underneath. You want to go over top.
Right. Okay. There we go. So you'd mentioned before that you had been injured. A lot of boxers obviously get injured. It's a very physical, dangerous sport. So if somebody wants to get back into the ring, or not even, just kind of rehabilitate themselves, almost like a physiotherapy, can you adapt their program around?
You know what? I've made that commitment to help, people that have injuries. I do have people that come in that they anxiety to depression to injuries, and it is so good for people. Parkinson's, I've done a couple of Parkinson's people.
Wow.
So I think I'm going to get my complete course and bring Parkinson's back into the gym.
I don't know, Rick. So do you think I'm ready to get in the ring now and start competing?
I think that you'll stand a good chance of surviving in the ring. Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know about that, but thank you so much for showing me these moves. It was a lot of fun, and I think everyone needs to come and check it out. Check out something that you're not used to. Definitely, I wasn't used to this. Get out of your comfort zone. Okay, so we are at Lethbridge Boxing Club. This is Rick Duff, 5-time champion and former Olympian. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm Jeanette Roche. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, thanks so much for watching.